reached the return or the mentor. So Dr. Nancy Bryan, she has, you can correct me if I'm wrong, I'm going to make you the host in a second, but pharmaceutical, biochemist, nutrigenomics background, and just huge laundry list of the medical professional. You guys, if you didn't know, we have over 1,000 medical professionals as distributors in this company. That is unheard of, unheard of. And so I'm sure she's going to share with us why she said yes, why she is a network marketer after being a doctor. That's not typically the way that you guys end up going. And so it is just a true blessing. Dr. Bryan has devoted her entire career to helping others, including animals, optimize their health, optimize their wellness. And she's also a two-time cancer survivor. So just incredible that we have you on tonight. I'm going to make you the host because I know you have some slides for us. And I am just going to let you take it away. You guys show her some love in the chat. We are beyond blessed to have you here tonight.
Oh, thank you so much, Erica. Can you hear me okay? All right. Good. Well, thank you so much. I'm so excited to be here. When Rachel sent me a note that she wanted me to be on your team Zoom, I was like, what? Why would you want me, little me, on your team Zoom? But you know what? We are so lucky to be a part of a company that all of us hold hands together. It doesn't matter which group you're in. It doesn't matter who's your upline, who's your downline, who's your crossline. None of those things matter because you know what? We are all in this together. And those of you that might have heard Sharice Matthews when we were in Long Beach, together we are better. And so that's what a lot of this has come, is that each of us have different strengths. And so I wanted to be able to come on tonight and first and foremost, thank you all for taking time out of your schedules. I know things are crazy right now, and everybody's trying to find what they're doing and where they're going. But the one thing I think everybody here is going to have to agree with is that people are really, really, really interested in what's going on with their health right now. And they're really, really scared about where we're going, right? And so I don't know about anyone else, but I've been getting contacted by people that for years I've tried to reach out to, and now they're interested. And so what I wanted to be able to do tonight was first and foremost, make you confident in understanding what we have no one else has. That is one of the main reasons why I got here to begin with. So let me tell you a little bit about my story. I started off as a pharmacist, but before I went to pharmacy school, I had my master's in molecular chemistry, and that separated me a little bit from a lot of the other students I was in school with. And we had a greenhouse. I know, yes. Can you believe that? Back in the day, pharmacy schools had greenhouses, and we actually studied plants and derivatives, and we learned that medications were from plants. Well, fast forward today, that is not where things are anymore. They've removed those from pharmacy schools, and that profession has gone on to some other things. And so what I try to tell people is early on, I became the backward pharmacist. What I saw early on when I was working was that people were getting started on medications that led to other medications that led to other medications. And I realized early on, because of my really cellular study, that what we weren't doing was what I learned, and that was balancing a cell. And until the cell is balanced, you can't get a system balanced. And when you don't have a system balanced, you don't have your body operating in equilibrium. And that's when things start to run amok, if you will. So one of the things that I'd like to do is, and let me finish that real quick by saying, so fast forward, I was in long-term care consulting for many years, took many people off medications, spent hours upon hours with lots of doctors helping them understand that concept. And you know what I learned from that was that experience was that there were things like B12 shots and hydrating people and actually getting good foods back in those people. They started to really improve when they were in long-term care. And so it went from there to me dealing with children, and one thing led to another that my interest really became delving into understanding nutrients as well as the medications. And then I had an abrupt halt when I had a really big health crisis. And that health crisis really set me back. And it was really devastating because I was the healthiest person I knew. And so if this healthy person that had done all the right things, could still get sick, I knew we were still missing some things. And the basis that I want to talk to you about real quick today is the fact that when I went to school, we were told that 98% of our genes were set. That pretty much you were stuck with what we had. And that we just didn't really have a lot of understanding at that genetic level with nutrients and with medications. But fast forward, things are changing. And it was those changes that I really became interested in. So let's get started. I'm going to go ahead and share my screen if that's okay, Erica. And what I want to do is talk just a little bit about, where we started actually. And I can tell you one thing, you don't have to be technologically advanced to do this. I hope that you guys can see this screen. Can you see this okay? All right, perfect. All right, so what I want to talk to you today about how LifeVantage really began with that single question, that question I just talked about. And that was, is declining health something that we have to accept as we're getting older? In other words, are we stuck with those genes from grandma and grandpa? That was one of the things that we were trained on. And what happened is there was a discovery, the first discovery in the lab was that our genes did control the abilities for us to keep our bodies healthy. And we did have some semblance of idea about that, but we thought we were stuck with how our genes were going to roll with our parents. But what we ended up finding out was that we actually did have the ability to be able to activate those pathways and those abilities to change how the genes were going to be expressing. This was a really huge deal because in the past, we really didn't look for that when it came time to looking for what we were going to do about illnesses and aging, so to speak. So what happened? The company actually had found through studies, some combination of nutrients that started changing our thought processes on that. And that's how our company was formed and continued with that research. So in 2003, they started with our flagship product, our NRF2 product, when they had figured out that that product actually had the ability to be able to change some of our cells functioning. So during that time frame, there was an investigative report. Many of you on here have seen that investigative report, the ABC Primetime. And the thing that came from that was twofold. First and foremost, everyone knows that when they show up, they're not there to make friends. What they're there to do is pretty much to dispel what you're saying. And what ended up happening was just the opposite. John Quinones did this report. What was he doing? Look at that, what it says, a true breakthrough in science. Hey, and it's been a while since we had major breakthroughs.
So sorry, your slides are not showing.
Oh, are they not? Oh, golly,
No.
Hang on.
No
Hang
problem.
on. I told you you don't have to be technologically advanced for this. I will see if I can get them to come on. And one more set.
I found you.
And now I've lost you. Can you see me?
We can see you.
There I am. I'm back. All right, hold on one more time. And I apologize.
You're fine.
Let's see if this brings it up. Are we good? If you push enough buttons, you can get it done. So sorry about that. But the important thing is you really haven't missed much. The important thing is that ABC video is what really set into motion unprecedented universities doing self-studies. And if you're in science, you can see me, I get all excited about stuff like this. And it's because this is stuff that doesn't really happen in the real world. And so what we saw was all these universities, look what we have here, Harvard, Colorado State, American Heart Association, all these different places wanted to start taking a look at what we have. And the reason is because they had always had the understanding that they thought there were some pathways, but no one's been able to figure out how to start operating them. And so that's when we started seeing the shift for our company needing to go to direct sales, because no one knew about this product. It was sitting on shelves. No one was making the understanding that this was something that was really different than a bottle of vitamin C or any other antioxidant. And so that part I want you to understand is really important, because myself as a doctor, as a researcher, as a formulator, that was impressive to me. And I know that this is an old video, but I want you to know and understand it still has huge value for people to understand, because there's still to this day has not been something like this that's been repeated. So let's get started. So what are we talking about here? We're actually talking about the fact that we're activating instead of supplementing ourselves, right? And that led us to theories on why were our bodies declining in health. Because we were starting to see people living longer, but what we weren't seeing was the span of time that people were healthy. And how long you live if you're not healthy, right? That's a big part of it. You want to be able to be as healthy as you can. All right, let me find something. All right, and let's make sure you're muting yourself if you've come on late. All right. So, what are we talking about? Erica touched on it when we started. What the heck is oxidative stress? And I know a lot of people on here now know what that is, but we have a difficult time explaining what it is. And what I'd like to say to you, I'm going to go through some of these things so that you can get a greater depth of understanding. But the important part here is you'll notice I am using our corporate slides. All right? I want you to feel comfortable. Every bit of information here is information that each and every one of you can readily share. And yes, it's great that I can give you more details as someone that's more trained in these areas, but I want you to feel comfortable that it doesn't matter if it's a doctor or if it's a teacher or if it's someone working at one of the local grocery stores. Everybody has the same opportunity when you take a look at these slides and you can share them. All right, so first and foremost, what is oxidative stress? This is when the body is being bombarded by all kinds of things. And it's not, it's our environment, it's electromagnetic fields, our phones, our computers, all these different things have an effect on our body from the outside. But also, we have our own body that does that from the inside, just as a natural way that it works. Remember when I talked about the cell? We're going to get back to that. But what happens in that cell is when oxidative stress happens, we get a buildup of trash. And that buildup can cause all kinds of problems. See all these different areas? Every single organ is going to be affected by oxidative stress. And so the solution is, how do we help that? Well, we know that antioxidants from the outside can have a small effect, but what all that science and excitement became researched about was the fact that we were producing antioxidants on the inside, and they're tremendously more powerful. And that was the key, is that we want to be able to produce those antioxidants, because over time, the actual production of them starts to diminish. So we need to find ways that activate it, right? What are some of the causes? As I talked about a little bit before, it's everything from diet to pesticides, things in our foods. Also, lack of exercise or a lot of exercise. A lot of people don't think, oh my goodness, if I do a whole bunch of exercise, that's a bad thing. Remember when I told you that I had a huge health crisis? I was what I thought the healthiest person around. I was working out like a mad woman. And I can tell you that that rigorous exercise creates a lot of oxidative stress in your body. And so those are reasons we have to have a good source of antioxidants being produced inside. So how do we get that done? We have our Protandem NRF2 Synergizer. And this is what I love about what we're doing. We're utilizing 5 ingredients here. Take a look at this. The input of milk thistle, bacopa, ashwagandha, green tea, and turmeric, all blended together in a specific way, not just thrown in a pot. These are blended together with the specific amounts, and they're tiny amounts. And what happens is they actually end up making an entity that turns on this pathway. So think of it like when a recipe calls for cake and you're putting in eggs and flour and sugar and all those different ingredients. It goes in the oven, right? And what comes out is not all those things, but one thing that is delicious and fun to eat, right? Things we shouldn't be eating. But the point of it is, it goes through and becomes one thing. I cannot stress enough to you that when these 5 ingredients go through the intestine, the digestive tract, they are taken into our body as a single item. That is one of the biggest importance with this product and why I think it does the things it does. And we'll see that further on when you take a look at some of our studies. But the bottom line is, by doing that, what we're seeing is the ability to lower that oxidative stress. We're going to start balancing the cell. Instead of it being laden with all the trash, we're going to be able to reduce that by 40% in 30 days. There is still nothing anywhere that's proven to do that. And I think that's so exciting. The big thing here, though, is we're in this corona time. These are some important factors to know. We're increasing superoxide dismutase by 30%. We're increasing catalase by 54%. We're increasing glutathione by 300%. You're going to be hearing about a lot of people getting IVs of glutathione and all different forms of people trying to get glutathione in because they know how valuable it is. And let's tell you the problem with that. The problem with that glutathione trying to be pushed into the body is there's rate limiting steps. And when there's rate limiting steps, is the ability for the body to only take in much. For those of you that haven't muted, please try to mute so that we don't have interruptions. All right,
Dr. Brian, can I walk you through how to mute her because she's not getting the memo?
Okay.
If you click on participants,
okay,
and it should pull it up on your right hand side.
Oh golly, it's not showing me that right. Hang on, I'm pulling it down. All right, and
you can find
yes.
her and you can mute her.
Hopefully, I hope I did that. Did that take care of it? Is it quiet?
1 second. There we go.
There we go. All right.
All right, you should be good. She's muted now.
Can you hear me? Sorry. So the important part is that the glutathione really is important in our immune system and taking care of ourselves and in balancing ourselves. And the only way to get an increase in 300% is your own body doing it. And that's what happens when we have this NRF2 pathway optimized. We have that in studies demonstrated. We don't have to guess. These are things that we actually know. And that's why we see things like natural repair and rejuvenation of cells. Most importantly, detoxification of a lot of different things. And we're neutralizing up to 1 million of those free radicals versus 1-to-1 with fruits, vegetables, and that sort of thing. So what we're taking a look at here in this 1-to-1 situation is that we're not going to say that we don't have a good need for fruits and vegetables. Don't get me wrong. We want to eat all the fruits and vegetables. Our body wants foods. But the point of it is that we can't activate this pathway through that alone. We needed a little extra boost. So that's what our NRF2 does, is it's going to give you a much more activation of keeping these free radicals, which are basically these little things bouncing around in your cells that are trying to grab up something else to neutralize it. And so that's what we're going to be taking a look at, is that million every second. And that is just, you just can't eat enough fruits to upregulate that. So when you take a look at some of the things we're talking about, go into pubmed.gov. And seriously, look into pubmed.gov. You can tell other people, but do it yourself. And you're going to find all these different areas. It's everything from exercise and sports to aging cells to the American Heart Association. Every one of these publications are in different areas of the body. That's how important NRF2 is. Every cell in the body. And so that's why you'll often hear me say, people will say, well, is it going to help with this disease state or that disease state? Frankly, I don't care what the disease state is. What I'm looking at is optimizing the body. And the first theory of aging is that this oxidative stress is causing so much trouble that we cannot keep from getting sick. And so that's the important thing to remember. And again, when you take a look at some of these universities, for me, when I came into this, the main reason I saw the Louisiana State University study, and a surfer showed it to me. Yes, a surfer. It wasn't a doctor. It wasn't a scientist. It was someone that cared about me. It was someone that had a relationship with me. And he knew that I had some issues with my health. And when I saw that Louisiana State University article, I knew it was real science. And it had this product by trade name. I had not seen that. You just don't see trade name products in university studies. They'll do ingredients or technologies, but they are not doing trade name studies. And that really caught my attention to go on and look at all these other studies. And that's why I would like to encourage you, when you're talking to other medical professionals, first and foremost, build a relationship with them. Find out what it is that's making them not as happy as maybe they could be. Because when you do that, you're going to get their attention a little bit better when it comes time to taking a look at the science. Because they get science all day, every day. And they're not going to really believe that you have science. Because if you don't have that as your background, their first thought is, how is that person really going to have a better idea than I do? And I'll be honest, when the surfer showed me, I was kind of rolling my eyes. But I can tell you, I'm so glad he did share it with me, because it was life-changing for me. And this was one of the things that really set me in motion to say, you know what, now I have a moral obligation to share it with other people. And that is the Washington State University study stating that the NRF2 is likely to be the most important health-promoting approach that we're going to see in the foreseeable future. It may become the most extraordinary preventative and extraordinary breakthrough in the history of health. You know, that's pretty significant. So for me, I really decided to jump in then. And right about the time that I got involved was when they were coming out with our second theory of aging product. And that is our NRF1 pathway synergizer. Now, one of the things I knew from all the chemistry and science and that balance was, yes, we did build up trash. But the reason that that was a normal function is because we have mitochondria in our cell giving our cell the energy. These little squiggly guys right here, that gives our cell the energy to do what it needs to get done. And we have to have that. So as we're aging, that feeling that we're more tired is coming from the perspective of our mitochondria are damaged and they're not operating as well as they could. So we're not making the energy we should. So take a look here. Here's the issue. We need constant power to run. They're responsible and the power for the cell. Everything from our heart to our brain to our lungs. I think those are all pretty important, right? So the important solution is, what do we do that we can make new mitochondria? And how can we help remove damaged mitochondria or help those mitochondria be less banged up, if you will. And so that's what that NRF1 pathway does. It helps with something called mitochondrial biogenesis, which is a really big word for just saying, you know what, we make them. And you can get that done going to the gym. You know, that's one of the reasons we go to the gym. We go to the gym, we build up our muscles. We're growing mitochondria by doing some of those things. Exercise. There's lots of ways that you can do it. But one of the biggest problems we have is that over time it gets harder and harder to do that. And there are things in our body that get in the way. Another thing I'd like to bring up is when mitochondria is making the energy, it does that by taking food and oxygen, and it gives us something called ATP. That's that energy, but it has a byproduct. And guess what the byproduct is? All right, it's the oxidative stress. It's those free radicals. And so the normal cell function from the time you're born until you get to be about 25 or 26 is the mitochondria growing like crazy and causing all kinds of oxidative stress, and your NRF2 pathway is ongoing, full force, taking care of it. And your cell is balanced. And we have these lovely, beautiful, very capable bodies. But then things start changing. And that's why we have to take a look at using something that can activate that NRF1 pathway. We need to have healthy mitochondria. And so what do we do here? We have our NRF1 synergizer. That is responsible for mitochondrial biogenesis, that great big word. We're making mitochondria. For me personally, I actually saw some of my muscle start being restored again. And it was awesome. I love that. That is part of anti-aging, right? That's what we were trying to do. And if you take a look at the ingredients here, again, it's those 5 ingredients blended specifically a certain way. And in so doing, guess what we see? The NRF1 pathway starts to activate again, and we see that energy coming back. And that's what we need so that we can support our chromosomes. We want to protect our DNA. That's very, very important for overall root causes of problems in our body. It also is going to help with cell repair, mainly because you're going to start sleeping better. When you start sleeping better, that's when your repair systems are happening. All those things at nighttime are repairing. And then guess what? It's going to support our brain and our cognitive thinking because we have mitochondria working there. We have mitochondria working in our circulation and in our cardiovascular systems. All those areas we talked about the energy being important. So that's the true benefit of the NRF1. So then we come to the third theory of aging. And this one is probably one of the most exciting. Lots of people talking about it, and it's because of the power of it. We're going to talk a minute about sirtuins. And it gets to be a little bit complicated, so I won't go into a huge depth of it. But the important thing you need to know is that the sirtuins are responsible for removal of some of the waste that can build up over time. And guess what? That's called autophagy. You can see that on our slide here. The process called autophagy. So basically, it's the proteins that are in every cell of our body, and they are responsible for a bunch of other things as well. Most importantly, mental and physical energy, motivation. Who doesn't need more motivation, right? Our cardiovascular health, maintaining healthy cholesterol levels. I know I love to do that. One of the main reasons I love pharmacy was because of how damaging cholesterol medications could be. I just could not think that I was doing a good thing in health. I was told first, do no harm. And when you take a look at cholesterol medications, there's a lot of problems with those really hurting our mitochondria and lots of other aspects of our health. So we want to be able to maintain healthy cholesterol levels, but we do that in a different manner than taking a look at just putting a patch on it. We also want to see good joint health, and we especially want healthy DNA function. And here's the good news. By constantly activating sirtuins, you're going to get all those things happening. The bad news is just like the NRF1 and the NRF2 pathways, they start to slow down over time. So what are we going to be doing about this? Let's take a look here. We have the NAD switch, again, our new theory of aging for sirtuin activity. Now, I know a lot of you have heard about intermittent fasting, and I know a lot of you have been hearing about keto diets, all those kinds of things. A lot of these pathways are invigorated again when they are halted for a brief period of time. So by taking sugars out of our diet, by doing low calorie counts, by deep breathing exercises, a lot of these different things in our pathways can start to be altered. But here we have a product that actually is the precursor to turning back on our ability to make these sirtuins. And that really gives us a huge benefit. Look at the benefits here. Supports healthy longevity. That is what we started the conversation about. We are living longer. We want it to be healthy longevity. We want us to be functioning and enjoying our lives as we get to our older times. We want to be able to enjoy while we're there. And we want to be able to do it with a mental focus and concentration. This supports that. It's going to give you a positive mood. It's going to motivate you. It's going to boost your mental and physical energies. We all need this. Most importantly, it gives the body a healthy inflammatory response. That is different than being an anti-inflammatory. In the drug world, we have anti-inflammatories, and sometimes they're necessary. Sometimes we have to have them to abruptly stop something that's really an acute problem. But what we want to have is not something that shuts off our immune system. We want something that creates a healthy response. So it comes on, and then it goes off, and then it comes on, and it goes off. And what happens there is you're getting biofeedback. And now we're talking about the cell actually having the ability to really balance the chemistry that's going on in there. And that's going to help you to maintain those cholesterol levels. And it's also going to really help the cardiovascular system. So when we have those all together, the reason we talk so much about our tri-synergizer is now we're talking about that whole cell. Now we're talking about the ways that we can make that cell be in balance instead of completely out of balance. And here's some of the science behind it. When you take a look here at this bar graph, these are the genes expressed based on if it's NRF1, NRF2, or NAD. And you can see that a lot of companies would be thrilled to death just doing that. Look at that. Here's our antioxidant. There's our 40%, right, with NRF2. Here's our NRF1. I'm talking about mitochondrial biogenesis. It goes up by a significant amount. That's a 69%. When we take a look at our NAD, we raise our genes' abilities to make NAD synthesis to help with those sirtuins, right? But what happens when we put them together, all together? This is sort of like the cake thing. We're going to now get a synergy that creates much higher level. It's more like exponential 3D, not linear. And now when you take a look, we're actually taking a look here at being able to have a massive difference in some of our NRF2 ability by having the other two products there. We're having the ability to have great mitochondrial biogenesis by having all three products there. And we're having a massive increase in activity for our NAD synergizer to get out there and really help to be the precursors and make what we need to get the sirtuins up and active. So those are our product pillars that we love to talk about in terms of activators. And I want to help you to understand differentiation, because sometimes you'll hear people say, well, if you do this, you don't need supplements anymore. That's not exactly true, because there are a few things that we really do need to see happen. And one of those things, along with that activation, is we need to be able to make sure that our gut is operating properly. Our probiotic I'm telling you, I've been talking about probiotics for years and years and years and years. Until you get the gut right, you can't possibly absorb those tiny nutrients in the NRF2 and the NRF1 and the NAD. You've got to be able to have a balance in the gut as well as in the cell. And gut health is where we signal our brain. This is going to optimize how we think about how we eat. It's going to optimize how our pancreas is talking to our brain about if we're full or not. It's going to optimize how our sugars connect to our insulin by the signaling through our pancreas. So it's really important that we have a probiotic that we're going to be able to actually get in and make new microbiomes and good probiotics in the right area. So our lactobacillus goes to the small intestine where it belongs. The bifidums are all going to be down in the lower section. All of those have roles where they are, and they're important. And it's important, too, to think about our prebiotic. The prebiotic was put together because we need to feed not only those probiotics we're taking, all of our probiotics. And it helps them to function so much better. And they do things, the reason they're so important, they do things we do not. They break down things we cannot. And they also help carry things across from our intestines into our bodies that we are not capable of without their help. So that's why it's so important to have a probiotic. And then there's our omega. Every time I would go out and talk to people about our products, I knew they had to have an omega, and they'd ask which ones. It was so hard for me to find an omega that was clean, that I could trust. And here we have an omega that's the proper ratio, and you can track it from the boat that it came off of. Come on now. I mean, I don't know any better tracking system than that. That's better than what we've been able to do to figure out where the heck all these viruses are coming from, right? So, you know what? That's an important entity, and we need omegas. They work on the outside of our cells. They help with conductivity of our cells communicating together, and they help protect our cells. And we need them for lots of different things. So that's why we have our omegas, and you'll see that we have our vitality stack put together with that. Our NRF1, our NRF2, our probiotic, and our omega. That was the basis for that, giving that cell optimal health. And then we, of course, have our weight management system. I absolutely love our fat burn product for people that are needing a little bit of extra help. It's going to really help your body to utilize fats for energy. And that's important. And it's going to help you utilize sugars for energy. It helps the whole the digestive tract can properly communicate again what to do with our foods so that you utilize them instead of storing them as fat. And of course, I'd be remiss with our Mother's Day specials. I know we've passed Mother's Day, but oh my goodness, I know anytime there's a special, I like to take advantage of it, but especially with our skincare system. For people that don't normally maybe even use a skincare system, our guys, if they get started on this, oh my goodness, because you know what? This is the only NRF2 activated skincare system proven to increase our own UV protection. Do you know how huge that is? That means that we don't have to be so concerned about plastering on all those chemicals to block the sun. Instead, our own body is going to be capable of doing a much better job of it. And for some of the things that were going on in my history, that was really important. And so I would encourage you to really take a look at it. That LSU study said it all. It said, look, if you want to take care of melanomas, take a look at what's going on. And yes, we don't treat, mitigate, or cure, but guess what? We do know that when you have good UV protection, you have a much greater chance of having really healthy skin. And then we have our skin or our hair care system. That is wonderful because now we're diminishing the amount of chemicals going in our bodies, right? Same with the skincare system. Both of these. Go to Think Dirty. I know that sounds funny. It's an app. And go to Think Dirty. And it's going to show you how healthy these products are. And of course, we'd be remiss if we didn't do Pet Tandem. Pet Tandem is unbelievable. and giving our furry little friends the same benefits that we have with our NRF2. They're mammals too, and they have all kinds of issues that they have to deal with. And you know what? Get onto some of the sites and take a look at some of the stories, and I can tell you it's amazing. And then last but not least, Axio, my favorite. I don't know how I'd be able to keep up with any of this science without Axio today. Why would you not want to give your brain food? That's what Axio is. It is feeding your brain. It is helping you to be able to function so much better in your brain for memory and for all those kinds of things where you're looking for something simple, not the energy that you're getting from monster drinks and energy drinks that's going to cause you to crash later. This is a natural energy that just heightens your focus and your ability. And oh my goodness, the stories that we hear on these, you just got to share those stories. They're just incredible. I'm going to turn it over to Erica now. And I'd just like to say, I know a lot of you have a lot of questions. I want to leave you with this. This is truly a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity. There are doctors out there that are really frustrated right now. Let me tell you what, there are pharmacists right now. Nobody even thought of pharmacists as being the first line of defense when all these people were getting sick. They weren't protected by their employers or where their workplaces were. And you know what? A lot of those people were terrified to go home to their families. They're all looking for something that's real, something that helps them. And I just want to just express to you, I hope this helps you to understand what we have, how significant it is, and how it does bring our bodies back to equilibrium. And that's why we're biohackers. We're giving ourselves the chance to take back full control of our biology, and we are doing it through nutrigenomics. And I couldn't be happier to be here and call all of you my family.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much, Dr. Brian. We appreciate you just taking time and pouring into us, guys. What's really cool is, Dr. Brian's right here on, you can go to your replicated websites, right? Go and put your website up. Go to it as if you were a customer, and you can read and study and learn. And LifeVantage has given us all of this content and information so that we can continue to be students, but also so you can send it right over to your prospects and they can read and learn. I never hesitate to just send my website because it has so much valuable information. So make sure you guys are doing that, utilizing the tools that you have in your fingertips. And once again, you guys just give Dr. Brian some love. We appreciate you and all of your knowledge and education and science, and we are truly blessed. So thanks, guys, for being